Hey everybody, it's Randy Ray, the Literate Texan here, and I've been thinking a lot about who my favorite booktubers are, at least the booktubers who, when they post a video, I always watch. So, you know, I would call this my list of 15 go-to booktubers. If I see a video from one of them, I'm almost certainly going to watch it. Now, I subscribe to over 230 booktubers channels. Obviously, I can't watch every video that comes up from everybody I subscribe to, but I try to watch as many as I can because I really enjoy BookTube and I enjoy seeing the different perspectives. But there are, you know, favorites of mine, and they're not all going to make it on this list because I've made a list of 15 favorites here. Excuse me. And the first one I talk about, number one on my, and these are in no particular order, really. Number one on my list of favorite booktubers is Revenant Reads. Vin at Revenant Reads is the man responsible for BookJack. And he's a bibliophile from New England who likes to read history and horror. I don't have a lot of interest in history books myself, so those sometimes fly right past me. But if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I do have an interest, a long-standing interest in horror books. I even owned a horror bookstore. But anyway, I find Vin's channel to be really engaging, and he's very real and down to earth. You know, you'll notice if you watch any of the booktubers on my list here, I don't really go for that high production crap like you see over at, you know, Jack in the Books, or, you know, Jack Edwards, I think is his name. But there's plenty of booktubers out there who really, in my opinion, overproduce these videos, you know. Once I got over the fact that, you know, I'm just not going to do that, or I'm not going to do much of that because I can't even edit a video, man. I just do these things off the cuff. So anyway, Vin at Revenue Reads is somebody you should watch. Also, I'm going to leave links to all these guys down below in my description. But my guess is if you watch my channel, you might be watching a lot of these channels, these other channels too already, because, I don't know, there's some similarities there between some of us. And I say that not to insult anybody on this list. Number two, David Wiley is a channel that I always tune into. And again, really sincere guy. I enjoy his videos. Like me, he just sits there and talks to the camera, or he just sits there and talks to you, which is what I like. So, you know, really cool channel. If you get a chance to check it out, you definitely should. And he likes a lot of science fiction books, which is also an area that I like to read. I grew up reading a lot of science fiction, but I've slowed down on it since. You know, I tend to lean more towards fantasy and horror and contemporary fiction these days. Okay. And he's been around a little while longer than I have. But there are also some newer guys on here. One of my favorites recently, this is number 3, by the way, is Carl at Please Read Your Book, who has published, in the short time that he's been on here, 34 videos already. This is video 72 for me, and I've been hanging around for about 4 months. So in terms of production, he really gets after it. But anyway, his stuff is great too. You know, he talks a lot about horror and science fiction, thrillers, Southern Gothic. Sometimes he'll cover comic books. I'm interested in comic books, even though I don't make videos about comic books. But he's really well-spoken, really intelligent. You know, it's one of the most interesting channels that I watch on here. So yeah, if you get a chance to go watch Carl over at Please Read Your Book, you definitely should. So, and then Grape Jelly Library is great. I love Flo, or Flossie, or I can't remember her name correctly. And that's not because I don't love her, but it's mostly because I got a little bit of the old mad cow disease these days. But yeah, she's great. Her videos are always great. She's just got this super sunshiny attitude, and, you know, everything she posts makes me smile every time I read something from her. Or watch one of her videos. In fact, she even got me interested in the Elvira memoir that came out not too long ago. Partially, I'm interested in the Elvira memoir because of, because of Flo's recommendation, but also because, you know, I grew up loving Elvira, and I even had a girlfriend who would dress like Elvira for Halloween. Bless her heart, we're still friends many years later. But yeah, definitely check out the Grape Jelly Library. Another fun one is Priscilla at the Evening Reader. And so this one's interesting to me too, because Priscilla and I graduated from the same college in the same year with the same degree. She got an English degree from the University of North Texas, just like I did. Her channel's just delightful too. She's really insightful about the books she reads. She tends to lean a little more towards literary fiction and contemporary fiction than the other booktubers on here, but she is definitely worth watching. And I don't think I'm alone in that thought, because she's got twice as many subscribers as I do, and probably half the videos, maybe more than that, I don't know. So that was number 5. I'm working from a list on a piece of paper here, by the way. So this isn't entirely off the top of my head. But also, Read by Fred is one of my favorite channels. Fred's a cool guy, man. I got so tickled when he made one of his, we did June on the Range, where we read Westerns, and he made this hysterical video about, you know, June on the Range, where he dressed like a cowboy and tried to talk like me or people from my area. But that was very, very entertaining. So, you know, he's a really cool guy. And when I see something from him come up in my feed, I watch it every time. You know, I don't miss Read by Fred. You know, another interesting guy, this is number 7, is BookJack. And he's one of these guys who buys and sells books on eBay. But he's also a reader. And he's really smart. He's got a great on-screen presence. He clearly loves books. And he's got a huge subscriber count, too, for someone who's only posted 42 videos. I wish I were this popular. Not really. Sort of, really. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So definitely check out BookJack. The guy's cool. And I'm going to buy some books from him on eBay, because he usually has really cool stuff. And then, okay, Ginger Bibliophile Cat over at Ginger Bibliophile is definitely someone you should be watching. I love Cat, okay? So part of it's because I have an ex-girlfriend who talked just like Cat, and had some other similarities too. Their personalities were real similar too. But mostly she talks about fantasy books, a lot of urban fantasy. She likes comedy, but she's a real interesting gal. If you look through my backlog of videos here, you'll find that we did a Zoom interview one time, and she was just delightful on there. But I generally don't miss too many of her videos, especially not the full-length videos. I will admit, I don't really like to watch a lot of YouTube shorts. So I skip her shorts, but I skip everybody's short videos, just about. Occasionally, if she's posting videos of her cute little dog, little man, I will watch her shorts, though, because, you know, they're pretty fun. Another, and this is, okay, we're coming up on number 8. I'm going through these really fast, which is unusual for me because I tend to run at the mouth, especially when I'm on my meds. J. Scott Phillips is relatively new, too. He's a science fiction reader, but he reads a lot of other stuff too. But he is so cool, man. Definitely watch J. Scott Phillips if you haven't checked him out before now. He's really great. And yeah, nice variety of videos that he's got going on over there. And I'm sorry I'm not looking directly at you. You know, I'm kind of looking at the channel on my screen here on my computer in front of me to kind of giving me an idea of what to say and stuff. So that was number 9. Number 10 is Criminolly, my friend from across the pond. Or actually, we're not really friends yet, but I'm working on him, you know what I mean? But, man, great channel. Obviously, with a name like Criminali, you would expect him to write about crime, pulp, horror, that sort of thing. Anyway, I get a big kick out of him. He's really prolific. He posts a video every day. You know, his channel's got something like 900 videos live. I don't know how long he's been doing this, but I've never watched a video from Criminali that wasn't interesting. And Criminali has created a booktube event that I'm really fond of, and I think a lot of other people are probably really fond of too. And that is Garb August, which seems to be like the most popular booktube event of all time, and it's just a matter of reading trashy books, which, I think most of us like a little bit of trash in our lives. I'm always reminded of what Pauline Kael said about the movies, too. Whenever Garb August comes around, she says, almost all movies are trash, but some of it's glorious trash. And you know what? I've had a lot of great reading experiences that were glorious trash. But anyway, yeah, Criminolly is definitely worth watching. His videos are funny. He obviously puts a lot of care and attention into what he's doing on here. But he's also really down to earth and sincere too. It's I don't get the feeling that he's trying to sell me anything, which is something else you'll see from a lot of the other bigger booktubers. But to be honest, if I had a big enough audience, I might try to sell you something too. I like money. MJ at Reading This Life is number 11 on my list of go-to booktubers, and she's just delightful. And she's really supportive of smaller booktubers. Every week she posts a video where she features several small booktubers, which I always appreciate. When she talks about books, she's almost always talking about fiction. That's where my interest lies. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. When I do, I tend to lean towards reading memoirs and that sort of stuff. She also has a great name for her dog. Her dog's named Watson. So maybe she's read and loved Sherlock Holmes as much as I have. I don't know. But you can count on her posting 4 or 5 videos a week, just as consistently as can be. And she also posts some good advice for newer, upcoming booktubers who want to, I guess, be all they can be on BookTube, right? Forgive me for drinking this coffee on camera and not sharing it with you. Most of you know I'm on medication. Makes my mouth dry. I always feel guilty about drinking or eating anything in front of somebody if I can't share it with them, and that includes you guys. And number 12, Roy Reads Anything. Okay, so I love this guy. And for one thing, you never know what he's going to post. You never know what kind of video is going to come from Roy Reads Anything. But when I first started watching him, I got real tickled because there was this disembodied off-camera voice that would occasionally laugh at certain things that he said or mouth off with a comment and stuff. And when I first started watching these videos, I had no idea who that voice was or anything. It was just kind of this mysterious voice coming from nowhere, poking gentle fun at him. But I believe after watching enough of his videos that that's probably his wife in the background. I think it is anyway. It's really cool. One of my favorite videos from Roy Reads Anything was the one where he talks about Reader's Digest condensed books. Because, I grew up with bookshelves full of these Reader's Digest condensed books. And I didn't really know what that meant, the whole condensed books thing, until much later in life when I realized that, they had taken these long classics and they didn't bowdlerize them. They just basically made them much shorter. But he had some great insights into that. He's got a great video about Ballantyne's adult fantasy series, but everything he posts is really great. Occasionally he'll read a comic book to us, but it's something obscure like Superman Family, which was a favorite of mine when I was growing up. I think, a lot of the booktubers that I watch regularly and that occasionally watch me are similar in age, which I think is also one of the cool things about BookTube, right? So, Mark over at Book Time with Elvis is really funny and entertaining. I love that guy. I get to be one of the co-hosts for a reading event that Mark has coming up called Dr. November. So we're going to be reading espionage fiction in November. But he's the first person to actually invite me to co-host an event. So I'm very excited about that and very grateful for this huge responsibility that he's offered me. But we've had a few conversations offline, not on BookTube. And he's a really cool guy. I love people from Europe. I used to work for a company called Poker Stars. And I worked directly for the CEO there for a little while, 6 months, maybe a year. But he announced in a meeting that we had one time that I lacked that European polish that the rest of the people on the call had. So I don't know. Of course I like that European polish. I'm from Texas. I have that Texas polish, right? But anyway, Mark definitely has that European polish. You thought that story didn't have a point, but it did. Okay, number 14 on my list is Michael K Vaughn. Now, before I started making BookTube videos, I watched a lot of BookTube videos. And Michael K Vaughn was one of the first two BookTubers that I started watching on a regular basis. And I still try to watch everything that he posts because, for one thing, he's hysterical. For another thing, he's brilliantly smart. And finally, he's interested in all the same stuff that I'm interested in. I love H.P. Lovecraft. Love Conan the Barbarian. I'm really looking forward to Sumerian September. Robert E. Howard's terrific. The Rogers Cheap Old Book Club, that's always got good stuff. I just can't say enough nice things about what Michael K Vaughn has done with his channel because it's really impressive. There's a reason he already has 16,000 subscribers and he's only been doing this for 2.5 years, something like that. Which brings me to number 15 on my list, the last one, and this is the other of the two booktubers that I watched regularly before I started making videos, and that's Steve Donoghue, who has been a wonderful friend and mentor in this whole booktube journey for me, which I'm sure he's done for a lot of different people. And, he's one of those people that I feel like I've become friends with on BookTube. One of many. Most of the people on this list I feel friendly towards, but we've had more conversations than I've had with most. But of course, he's like Superman or something. The guy's made 6,400 videos. I don't know that anybody on BookTube can compete with him in terms of sheer volume of content. But, he'll post like 4 videos a day, and he also reads, something like 1,500 books a year or 10,000 books a year. Or, I don't know. It's some crazy number. But he's endlessly opinionated, very funny and entertaining, very down to earth. He's just talking to people like he would be talking to people if you were sitting there talking in your living room. Or in his living room. So anyway, most people on here already know about Steve Donoghue. Probably not a surprise that he made my list of 15 go-to booktubers to watch. But believe it or not, I try not to miss any of his videos. Although I have to admit, I'm not that interested in Psalm Sunday, or Poetry Thursday. It's just not my cup of tea. So sometimes I'll skip those. But for the most part, I watch everything that Steve produces. So between making my own videos, doing my own reading, and watching those 15 go-to booktubers, and on top of all that, I check out a lot of other booktubers and watch them too. I could easily make another list of 15 go-to booktubers. So if you weren't listed here, don't get your feelings hurt. This was just a random off the top of my head list that I thought would be fun to make. And it's also an opportunity to express some of my gratitude because, a lot of people know that I'm sick and so I don't get out much. And forming these relationships, as one-sided as they may be in certain instances, it's been a real boon to my mental health as I deal with this sort of thing. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Check out anybody on this list that you haven't already heard of. They might turn out to be your cup of tea too. And it's still hot out there, especially if you're in Texas. So stay hydrated and stay sexy. But right now, I think it's more important to stay hydrated, which is probably not something you'll hear from me very often. Thanks for watching.